Well, that big headline today is that the bridge will be closed for the rest of 2020, 2021, and potentially beyond. That's because of growing cracks in the concrete structure. And get this, repairs might not even be feasible on this bridge. Even if they are, the Seattle Department of Transportation says those repairs would likely only add about a decade of life to the bridge. That's way shorter than they thought the bridge, its lifespan would be when it opened in 1984. So now there starts this conversation about replacing the West Seattle Bridge potentially in the long run. Now, this is one of Seattle's busiest roadways. It closed abruptly on March 23rd after inspectors found some cracks quickly growing on the center section of the bridge. The mayor said at the time she was concerned the bridge could not safely support traffic. Well, recent inspections have shown those cracks continue to grow, but at a slower rate. SDOT says it does not think the bridge is an imminent risk of failure, but now they're saying, you know, it's going to be a long time before cars ever drive on this bridge, if they ever do that again. The city says it recently installed some intelligent monitoring equipment on the bridge to watch for any structural changes in real time. SDOT says it's also modeling potential bridge cracking and failure scenarios to determine next steps. There are a lot of mounting costs with all of this work right now. They've redirected traffic to the lower bridges and some detour routes. They're having to repaint some roads, do a lot of planning. The city says those costs add up to about $33 million right now, and that figure does not include the costs of potentially repairing the bridge. So there are some big questions lingering tonight about how did it get to this point, who's responsible for that, why didn't they catch this earlier, and then what are we going to do from here? King 5's Vanessa Machanya is interviewing the mayor and city officials during a press conference right now. We'll have some of those answers coming up on King 5 News at 5. But again, the big headline here, this bridge closed for the rest of the year and next year. Live under the West Seattle Bridge, Ted Land, King 5 News.